So welcome back
Hello.
to Coffee and Conversation.
I feel like I'm in the hot seat here.
Well, you are, because this is part 2 of the Philip Gould story.
Yeah.
And we were really, the reason I wanted to do this series of conversations was partly because I think it's a story that needs to be told, and partly because I know from knowing you that you've picked up, despite leaving school after year 9 or something, you've picked up along the way through life so much learning and so many skill sets and so much discipline that I've seen it be translated into other areas. And I think it's an important thing in this day and age to understand that learning is holistic. Learning comes from your life, not just from books and not just from sitting in a
classroom.
Yeah. So you left school after year 9, but that was because really your career was beginning to really take off, wasn't it? And you landed this TV show.
That's right. Well, that was when the auditions, I was taking singing lessons from a gentleman by the name of Jack White, and he said to me that he'd heard about some auditions for a new television show coming up called Young Talent Time, and they wanted to see new talent, people who could sing and dance and do whatever, but they just wanted fresh young talent to be in this show. So I actually went along to this audition, and it was at Kevin Lewis's house, who was the other producer apart from Johnny Young, who was putting money into the show. And I went along, I sang for them, but right at that point, my voice had just broken. It had changed. I'd gone away on holiday.
When it happens.
And my voice went, ugh. You know, in 2 weeks, it just, bang, dropped. Mainly because, I mean, as a boy, I was singing so much. I mean, I was doing a lot of singing and singing lessons and all of that sort of stuff. And of course, my singing teacher at the time said, well, you can go along and they'll see that you've got the quality there to sing. But, of course, you're going through the change, you know, of your voice changing. So, anyway, I went along, cracked a few times in my audition. And they said, oh, that's all right, that's fine. Don't worry about that, we can deal with that. And which we did, you know, I mean, the songs they gave me to sing and etc.
Less range,
Less range and, you know, lower and eventually just increasing as time went on, which was fantastic for me. You know, that's unheard of nowadays. Anyway, I got into the show, Young Talent Time, and of course my partner was Debbie Byrne, and we had Jane Scarley, Jamie Redfern, Vicky Broughton and Rod Kirkham. We were the first 6. There were only 6 of us on the show at the beginning. And the ratings for this show just went through the roof. It knocked football for a 6. Yeah. We kicked a goal.
There's something.
Yes, of our own.
That's
and
huge.
It really...
Huge in Australia.
Yeah,
especially.
and it did so for nearly 20 years, that show. An amazing time in my life, and I certainly learned a lot. I mean, we didn't just do... I mean, we did things like we went to recording studios to record backings and, you know, vocals and all sorts of stuff. So we learned a lot of stuff there about recordings and getting used to that style of putting things down. And live television eventually. In the beginning, we recorded. Now, of course, these days it wouldn't happen, but... we used to get to the studio at, we'd do a rehearsal in the morning and then go to the studio about 1, 2 o'clock, get ready, and we'd be there till 1 or 2 the next morning, sometimes. Sometimes finish before midnight, but it was a long time. And eventually, I think, Child Protection and all that sort of stuff, and Actors Equity stood in to say... stepped in to say, I think you better, you know, go live, and which we did. So we went live to air, and did a show in an hour, and it still worked the same. In fact, it probably worked better. The energy was much higher because we weren't having to repeat things. Oh, something's gone wrong with the lighting. Oh, something's this, something's that.
It's hardly ever the performers.
Yeah, but also too, it never happens on a live show.
Amazing.
Everything just keeps going. So it was quite amazing to even have that experience, performing live on television to millions of people. And I know a lot of people. I still to this very day get people saying how much it benefited them to watch Young Talent Time.
Because it was a happy,
uplifting show with just pure entertainment and, you know, joy for an hour on a Saturday night. It was fantastic. So after Young Talent Time, I actually, during Young Talent Time, I will get into that story another time because it's quite long. But I left Young Talent Time while I was, how old would I have been?
It was after 5
about
years.
8. No, this is before that. I was about 17 or 18. I'd gone off to do a show and I got, hooked by these people who said they were going to make me a star and do all that sort of nonsense, and I stupidly fell for it. And left Young Talent Time, asked for more money and all this sort of stuff. It was really quite silly. But, it's just one of those things, And eventually they let me come back on the show after all that had gone on, because we found there were all sorts of, nasties going on behind my back. And eventually I got back on the show and stayed till I was 19. Just over 19, and it was a really great time of my life. That people say, "Oh, Young Talent Time, don't you ever want to shake that off?" And I say, "No, I don't," because it was such a great learning ground. But in the beginning, of course, when you first leave Young Talent Time, you think, you're making that transition between being a teenager into an adult performer. And it was really hard because everyone sees you as this young kid on Young Talent Time. And so in the beginning you start to poo-poo the idea of being on Young Talent Time, But I now realise that it was an immense training ground, But straight after that, I got into a show called More Canterbury Tales, which was a bit of a raunchy sort of show. I was 19, and it was a flop, basically. Sure. It only went for 6 weeks, but the guy who was producing and directing it, Martin Starkey, who's no longer with us, he was amazing. I learnt so much just from him. His energy was... you know what he's like, don't you?
Yeah, it was.
He was amazing, and he was the eternal rehearsal. Was just, oh, Philip, can you just change something for me? Okay, Martin, let's rehearse it now, shall we? And we got on. Like me. Yes. But I remember I changed whole roles while I was in Canterbury Tales. Crazy. Now this is another lesson to learn.
Yes.
But
don't assume the role you've been cast in is the one you're going to play,
especially in the middle of the show. And that was all because someone who had one role was playing an adulterer, and he wanted me to play the adulterer at 19.
The person playing it, not Martin.
Not Martin. The person playing it, and we had to swap roles because of his religious beliefs, which is fine. But I wish he'd said something before we started the show.
Oh my gosh!
And so we came in a couple of days, changed roles, and that was it. I had to swap roles for one of the tales. Of course, it's not the whole show; it's just one of the tales. But that was enough. So be prepared for anything. People.
Anything.
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely.
And so since then, I mean, your life obviously has taken you around the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's
West
too
End shows,
too much to go
there's
on.
Too much.
That.
There's too much. There's a lot. Yeah, we'd be here for weeks.
Yeah.
But since you've had children, obviously you've expanded into other areas as well. I mean, the performing is still there. Probably will always be part of your life.
Yeah.
But you've learned a lot about other fields like computers and video and audio and teaching and coaching and all sorts of things. How do you think that what you learned growing up as a performer?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it I take for granted, or I did take for granted. But now, of course, I'm seeing that anything that you learn can be adapted to anything else. It's learning is a way of introducing your mind and body or whatever it takes to whatever you're learning. Adaptability is just being able to change, a mindset to learning a new course in life because of something that you have to do. And learning computers and stuff, that was easy for me because I love technical gadgets and things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, you make me laugh because Philip says, I never had the patience to learn the piano. And I've seen him sit for days on end staring at a computer screen to work out what's gone wrong. And I'm thinking, you don't have patience? It's amazing. Yeah, you have. I mean, obviously with the technical stuff, you have an immense amount of passion and knowledge that you've built up over, 20 years now?
I suppose so. You remember the first time.
I do. I will never forget it. It was when I used to call myself, what was it? Not the Grass Widow.
Oh, the Grey Widow.
The Grey Widow, because he had a grey laptop and all his time was spent with this other woman that had a keyboard and a screen,
Yes, it took me 2 years to get one because I used to read magazines and I'd say, oh, look, Kate, look at this one. Look at this
and I'd
one.
say, what do we want one of those for? We don't need a computer. Now we have, I don't know how many computers.
Now we've got so many we don't know what to do with them. Well, I do, but it's great. But you're right. I mean,
but
just being able to...
That wasn't book learning. That wasn't classroom learning. That was, I mean, I went the university path, but that was life learning and trial and error, and persistence, and taking that intense focus that I know you have as a performer and putting it into a new area. Yeah,
well, I mean, that's probably one of the great lessons that I've had is being able to focus on any new area that I need to learn about, which happens so many times when you're, having to do things like these videos and whatever it is that we're trying to do. I mean, we've even gone and videoed concerts for people and all that sort of thing. But not because we wanted to, it's just happened that way. And, we've always wanted to do, and partake the information, give it to you. But the life lessons have certainly helped me in my learning about different areas to, put it onto a new area of my life. And it certainly stood me in good stead, my whole life.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's all right.
I
know. You've heard it all before.
Oh, but it's fascinating. It's fascinating, and it's just, and it's. I think it's heartening, because the world is all about you've got to go this way, you've got to go that way, and yet, actually, the world is not about that at all anymore. It's people are having to find their own path. They're having to learn new things.
Even when they're going to universities and colleges and things.
Well, and apparently most people who go to study an area of expertise at a university end up most likely not using that. So adaptability is huge, and being able to focus and to learn things on the spot and immediately and find ways to do things. I mean, I find you inspiring, because you will keep going and looking and finding a solution for things that I would have got forget it, ages before, before. So, I mean, clearly your path as a performer has given you a very specific
set of tools. Yeah.
Plus the ability to learn, the ability to grow, and the ability to persist.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, you know.
So don't take any of that for granted. Everything that you're learning, take it. Really take it and learn it and be adaptable. That's probably one of the biggest things is being able to adapt to new ideas, new things that will inspire you to learn more. It's not so much just learning what you already know. You really need to learn new things and be learning all the time, adapt all the time. Don't be settled for any one thing. Keep learning.
Learn.
No,
but it
happens all your life.
It's practical.
Yeah.
Life makes us learn.
I mean, if you stop learning, you may as well stop, because it really is a path that you should just keep learning. I mean, we don't know everything, you know, and someone else knows something that you don't, and you'll hear it one day and you'll go, I can use that, you know, and that's what we should be doing all the time, and not just in the entertainment field either. I'm talking about life in general. You know, just keep learning. I'm getting all passionate.
So with that,
yes, we better stop.
We'll say bye for now.
Bye. See you soon.